Thank you so much for coming. I think so. The mayor is going to be coming shortly, but I just want to welcome all of you, and especially members of the recovery community today. Thank you so much for being here. Whether you are a veteran old-timer with decades of continuous sobriety, like my friend and our friend Del Seymour and Richard Beal, whether you are someone with a few years and change like me, or maybe you're somebody in early recovery, maybe from a drug treatment program like Harbor Light. Who's here for Harbor Light? And maybe you're here as a person in recovery for the first time in your life, but today, as a recovery community, we are joined together and we are here to say, we do recover. More than that, we help one another recover. And yes, sometimes helping one another recover means standing on the steps of City Hall to advocate for policies that help people in recovery like us. So I want to welcome everybody who has come today, and I want to thank everybody for their support of the legislation that that we're announcing today, that I will be formally introducing tomorrow. It is called Cash Not Drugs. This legislation will create a voluntary sobriety and recovery incentive that will offer eligible recipients of general assistance in San Francisco a bonus of up to $100 if they test negative for illicit drugs. This incentive program will be available to beneficiaries of our County Adult Assistance Program, or CAP, who have been screened and diagnosed for substance use disorders and referred to treatment. Now, you may recall that voters in March 2024 enacted a screening requirement as a condition of receiving CAP benefits. That was Proposition F, and Cedric Akbar, who was instrumental in leading that campaign, is here, and he will talk a little bit about Proposition F. And although the Cash Not Drugs program is new to San Francisco, the underlying strategy that it represents really isn't new. It employs an addiction treatment strategy known as contingency management. It's where patients receive tangible incentives to reinforce positive behaviors like abstinence from addictive substances or adherence to medically assisted treatment. And that's a treatment strategy with prescribed medications like buprenorphine or methadone or naltrexone. Contingency management has been researched and studied for decades, and it is considered, and I'm quoting, one of the most effective behavioral interventions for initiating and maintaining abstinence from drugs. In fact, medical literature attests to its success to treat addictions to stimulants, to opioids, to alcohol, to many other substances. But the underlying principle of Cash Not Drugs is a simple one: a humane and effective approach to San Francisco's drug crisis should also include rewarding good behavior and not just punishing bad behavior. Under this legislation, our Human Services Agency, led by Director Trent Rohr, who is here, and he'll be available for questions afterwards, in partnership with the Department of Public Health, led by Dr. Grant Colfax, who is also here and who will also be available for questions afterwards, will have the option to escalate rewards for negative drug tests from smaller amounts in week 1, in early weeks, escalating to $100 per week cash grants in addition to the regular cash grant, and that is consistent with the principles that underlie contingency management. By incentivizing and supporting long-term recovery, Cash Not Drugs won't just save lives, it will help create better, more rewarding lifetimes. Elevating recovery as our drug policy objective enables us to enlist the most powerful ally we could possibly have in the drug crisis we face today, and that ally is San Francisco's recovery community itself. That ally is sitting right here in front of me and right next to me, standing shoulder to shoulder. We're all the ones who can keep each other safe from addiction and alcoholism. Now, I am grateful for the mayor who is on her way, but I want to introduce the first co-sponsor of this, and it's no surprise to me This co-sponsor is somebody who has been an ally with me on everything that I have done on recovery. But more than that, he's also a personal friend, and I can tell you from personal experience that he was there for me when I was going through some of the most difficult times in my life. Raphael Mandelman understands us, and he knows in his heart how hard it is to get and to stay sober, and he is so committed to doing everything he can to support us. And I am grateful that he is a co-sponsor of Cash Not Drugs. Please give a great warm welcome to Supervisor Raphael Mandelman.
Hey everybody, I'm Raphael Mandelman. I'm the District 8 Supervisor, and I'm Matt Dorsey's friend. My staff, if you ask them, they know that it is not easy to get me to support things. My colleagues are frustrated. I have to read things carefully. I ask around, get opinions. I'm a slow co-sponsor. I am not a slow co-sponsor for Matt Dorsey on issues related to substance use and recovery, because this is Matt Dorsey's passion, and I trust Matt and I trust the recovery community to know what we need to do for San Francisco. Contingency management works. One of the things that I did shortly after joining the Board of Supervisors in 2018 was I asked the mayor at the time, also the mayor today, London Nicole Breed, to convene a task force on meth use. And we met for many, many months. And one of the things that we learned in that task force was the things that I learned, many of the people in the task force already knew, was that one of the few interventions that has been demonstrated to actually reduce meth use, stimulant use, to really support people and change outcomes is contingency management. This is not a new thing. I mean, this is decades in the making. There's been pilot after pilot. I think you're going to hear from folks who did contingency management more than a decade ago. It's time to bring these things to scale, and that is what this measure will do. So it is an easy choice for me to support this. I'm so excited to have a recovery idea factory like Matt Dorsey on the Board of Supervisors. I find that he'll bring me into his office and tell me he's thinking about something, and then he'll go and fight with the bureaucracy, and many months or even sometimes a year later, he'll come back with the idea, and then we'll have a press conference. And he's been doing it, and we're going to keep doing it until we have made San Francisco the place that not just knows, but shows how to support recovery. So thank you all.
Thank you, Raphael. Now, those of you who know me, know why programs like this are important. As Raphael mentioned, it's because I'm a recovering addict too. And in fact, it was my own journey in recovery from addiction and alcoholism that moved me to ask for this job, a job I never thought I would want, let alone have. And on the day that I asked Mayor London Breed to consider me as her appointee to the Board of Supervisors, this was about 2 years ago, on that very day, I was celebrating 18 months of continuous sobriety. Although I have been in recovery for most of my adult life, the reality was I had a serious relapse during COVID. And I had to admit to Mayor Breed on that day that I didn't have enough continuous sobriety to qualify as a treasurer in a 12-step program. I knew that I was asking the mayor to make a high-risk choice. And for those of us in recovery, I think we all have to acknowledge, no matter how high the reward, there's risks with us too. That's part of our journey. Well, Mayor Breed decided to take that risk. Now, when I was appointed, I had to come to terms with how I was going to talk about my private journey publicly. But the thing I hadn't fully considered was how I was going to talk about my public life privately in the meetings that I go to that are really part of my recovery. How was I going to talk about being a supervisor in a public position? And around the time I was being considered for supervisor, I shared at one of the meetings I went to regularly for about 3 or 4 weeks in a row that I was interviewing for a new job, that I wasn't sure I would get it, that I wasn't sure it would be a good thing if I did get it. And about 2 days after I was appointed supervisor, I went back to that meeting, and the reaction was, "That was the job you were interviewing for?" And some of them said, Dorsey, you're a train wreck. Does she know what she's doing? But I got to tell you, after that meeting, I got a call from a fellow addict. And we have seen each other in our journeys go through hell and back. And on that day, he spoke to me with more joy in his voice than I have ever heard. Against the backdrop of the deadliest crisis that we've ever seen, he said to me how proud he was that I was a supervisor, and then he said, now we've got a seat at the table. That is something I think about every day, and it motivates me in powerful ways, but I want this recovery community to know. London Breed gave us a seat at the table. London Breed took a chance on me that I will never forget. London Breed empowered all of us to say, we do recover. We are here to help one another recover. And yes, that means fighting for recovery programs like this for the city that we love. So please give a warm welcome to a champion of the recovery community, Mayor London Breed.
I really want to thank you all so much for being here to announce a new opportunity to help change and save lives. And many of you know my journey to get here. Who would have thought growing up in public housing in this city through the height of the crack epidemic, where we've seen death and destruction all over many neighborhoods that were consistently neglected. So when we were faced with one of the most significant fentanyl crises that I've ever experienced, because of the challenge of getting people treatment, but also the loss of so many lives, I went to the community that knew best what was going on and how we can put together opportunities to help save and change lives. And that was many of the folks who are part of the recovery community. Positive Direction, Equal Change, the Salvation Army, United Players, the Castro Country Club, not the Castro Country Club where you go play golf. But the point is, I went to this community to get help as to how we make our policies work better for the people who need it the most. And we know there's not a one-size-fits-all. We know everyone's journey is different. This city was not focused on abstinence-based solutions. And I have invested over $20 million for 7 new abstinence-based recovery programs to meet people where they are. And let's be very clear. These programs are for the community, by the community. People who understand those struggles and who are there to help people change and turn their lives around. And some of you also know that I lost my sister to a drug overdose. She was down in the streets of the Tenderloin. It was definitely very difficult to get her the help she needs. And part of my goal and why I have worked very closely, hand in hand, with the recovery community, because I want to make it easier, just as easy to get treatment as it is to go out there and buy dope. This program is an incentive. We have been implementing programs like this where we've received a grant, a nonprofit received a grant from the state where we are providing resources for sobriety. Whatever it takes to get people on the right path, that's what we need to do. And what it takes is support. What it takes is money. What it takes is housing. What it takes is an opportunity at a second chance where you are not judged for what might have happened in the past. In San Francisco, we banned the box. So no matter what your history is, you can work for the city and county of San Francisco. And so getting people clean and sober, getting them on the right path so that they can take care of themselves. Not so somebody can feel good about taking care of them, so they can take care of themselves and be supported and lifted up. That's what this is about. We are finally listening to the recovery community. And that's a big reason why I appointed Matt Dorsey to work on this and to work with community. Not to tell people what to do, but to work with people hand in hand. So I appreciate the advocates, I appreciate the clinicians, I appreciate the people with all the data, but I need you to start listening to those people who are actually in recovery. We need to listen to people tell us what they want, and I'm gonna be honest, it might be a little tough love. I may not be able to give you everything you want, but my goal is to give you everything you need and deserve. So I want to thank Matt Dorsey, and I want to thank all the many organizations who are on the ground doing the work. I've heard so many amazing stories about people who are now clean and sober on the road of recovery, and every time I think about all of you and your stories, I am constantly praying that God gives you the strength to be clean and sober for the rest of your life, that God gives you the strength to lift up someone else, because you are living for those people that didn't make it. Your life is changing because of the people that didn't make it. Your recovery is an inspiration. And in this city, we will continue to do everything we can to uplift it and protect it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That's right. Recovery is an inspiration. And next up, I want to introduce an inspiring person from the recovery community. Please welcome the Director of Recovery Services for the Tenderloin Housing Clinic, Richard Beal.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you, Matt. My name is Richard Beal, and I'm an addict. It feels good to be here. It feels good to be clean. I always says it feels good to be clean because for many years I just thought it felt good to be loaded. But today I can say it really feels good to be clean. I feel so good today, I feel more than just physically clean. I feel like that soap commercial, I feel zestfully clean. I'm grateful to be clean. I'm grateful to be part of the recovery community here in San Francisco. I've been part of this community for 30 years. I went to Ozanam Detox and I stayed clean. I went to St. Anthony's Foundation program, graduated from that program. I had 4 felony warrants. They asked me, did I have any warrants? I said, of course not. When I completed the 6 months of treatment, I went to court and they dismissed them down to misdemeanors. And then I went to the secondary program, and when I completed that, Father Floyd from St. Anthony's came to court with me and they dismissed the cases. That's right. I'm talking about Ozanam to St. Anthony's, and when I completed St. Anthony's, thank God for Salvation Army. Salvation Army had a program. Salvation Army had a program called Bridgeway Transitional Housing right now at 242 Turk Street. It was Bridgeway, and it was a shelter at the bottom. Now it's the Kroc Center, but back then it was Bridgeway Transitional Housing, and it was required that you go to 2 groups a week, and then you had to stay there, and they would charge you, I think it was $600 a month. I moved in there with $742. And I've been clean. I stayed clean right there in the Tenderloin. Some people know me as the ambassador to the Tenderloin because ain't nothing I won't do for another recovering addict, because an addict, any addict, can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. I'm grateful for this program. I'm grateful for people like Mayor London Breed and Supervisor Matt Dorsey and Supervisor Raphael Mandelman and all the people that are soldiers, Craig Akbar, people that have been on the battlefield with me for 3 decades. It's been 3 decades. I ran around in the Tenderloin for 10 years, unsupervised. I ran around in 10 years just doing everything that they told me not to do. But guess what? God had a different plan for me. God had a plan. And you know what? And all I had to do was bring God back into the plan. And the guy told me, my sponsor told me to do 3 things. He said, trust God, clean house, and help others. That's what he told me to do, and that's what I'm going to tell y'all to do. Trust God, clean house, and help others. He started that program called the Read to Recovery program, and I picked up that basic text. If you ain't got one, if you ain't got a big book of basic text and some literature in recovery, you can come here to the library and get it here because of this man right here, and because people like the mayor that said you can come in here and get some literature on recovery that can change your life. Because when I picked up that book, it said in it, I read this part. It said, if you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are the principles that made our recovery possible. They said you work the steps and you live the principles. And then they said if you didn't get it then, guess what? I'm going to take you to the 12th step where it says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of what? These steps. We had a spiritual awakening as a result of these principles. Again, you work the steps, you live the principles. So I've been living these principles for 30 years now, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the support that I've been getting from the recovery community. We started as a result of the mayor declared a state of emergency, and we did a rally in Bodecker Park. And then right after the rally, we started Recovery Day in Bodecker Park. Y'all can give it up for Recovery Day. You know, and I reached out to people like Cedric and like Steve Adami and other people from the probation department and the mayor's office and the Human Rights Commission, all of us, and say, yeah, we're going to have Recovery Day every year. And now this is the 4th year for Recovery Day. And all I'm saying is, this is a beautiful thing. We need incentives. And I'm going to say this last piece and then I'm going to get away. We ask people to go, when we go to court, we send people to court to they go to detox, they go to residential treatment, they go to transitional housing, and then a lot of times they don't have a place to go after they did everything that we told them to do. But guess what? Now we're completing the bridge, y'all. Now we are building incentives for people so when they leave transitional housing, they can obtain some permanent supportive housing and go to a clean and sober environment. That's the next step. That's the next step, y'all, so we can move people into a clean environment so they can have a chance to stay clean and not take nothing no matter what. My name is Richard Beal, and I am the TL Ambassador to Recovery.
Thank you so much, Richard. Oh, and we want to give a shout out to 5 Keys, too. And Sonny Schwartz, and who founded that, and all the great work they do. So, where? Cameo House? Okay. Woo! Okay. So, you know, the recovery community, just like any other community, we don't always agree on things. Sometimes we have different opinions on what the right approach in recovery is, but it's really notable about this program that on this Cash Not Drugs Recovery and Sobriety Bonus Incentive, this contingency management program, the recovery community is speaking with one voice, and I want to welcome up next a public health community leader, an LGBTQ plus community leader, somebody who understands abstinence-based recovery and harm reduction. Please welcome my dear friend and a rising star in San Francisco politics, Gary McCoy.
Thank you, Supervisor Dorsey. That's, wow. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gary McCoy. I am an abstinent recovery and harm reduction advocate. In fact, about 15 years ago, long before he was Supervisor Matt Dorsey, he was one of the first people that I met when I walked into a room of a 12-step program in the Castro. So thank you for your work and your consistent leadership on everything for the recovery community. That being said, I'm here today to strongly support Supervisor Dorsey's Cash Not Drugs proposal. This initiative represents a commitment to an innovative, evidence-based approach in addressing substance use disorder. Decades of research, over 50 years of research, have consistently shown the efficacy of similar small-scale models of this program. It promotes positive behavioral health changes, and study after study confirms that if incentives encourage and sustain healthier behaviors, forming a robust foundation for recovery. Rooted in behavioral and psychological scientific principles, predictable and concrete recovery incentives reinforce targeted behaviors and foster sustained change to make lasting recovery. The program will decrease substance use, improve health outcomes, increase engagement in broader medical care, reduce acute care costs, mitigate risky behavior, and benefit individuals, healthcare systems, and our communities so that we can have healthier, more vibrant neighborhoods. This approach fosters peer support and community while providing opportunities to other treatment and social service programs. Together, we can make a lasting impact, helping individuals build healthier, substance-free lives. Thank you, Supervisor Dorsey. Thank you, Mayor Breed. And thank you to HSA and DPH for all the work they do.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. And now I got to introduce another rising star in San Francisco politics. This is somebody who is my colleague on the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee, but more importantly, he is a member of this recovery community, and he co-founded Positive Directions Equals Change, and he is a champion for recovery. Please welcome Cedric Akbar.
Hey. All right, right. Good morning, good morning. By the grace of God that I'm here today, and I just thank everyone for coming, and recovery is so good to us. When I came here today, I was thinking, oh, where Gary at? Come over here. Gary used to fight me all the time, but we standing here together right now. I just wanted to show you how recovery is. All right, yeah. But one of the things is that San Francisco itself is in recovery. Just like a lot of us are in recovery right now, San Francisco is in recovery. During the pandemic, we got bombarded with fentanyl. Fentanyl took over this city, and it affected everyone, everybody's lives. And what we had to do is put San Francisco in a drug program. San Francisco went to the drug program, and the recovery community urged San Francisco to be able to make changes that we needed to make in order to move us forward. So today, all of you in the recovery community uniting as one, and Mayor Breed listening to us, and I thank her so much for being able to have an ear and being able to listen to non-politicians and be able to implement programs in this city so all of you can have a safe place to be, all of you can grow and be able to be the people that God wants you to be. So I just want to recognize that on this day. And in being in recovery, we can look around and see that this city is changing. This city is changing by hook or crook, and we're doing incremental changes in this city to be able to make things better. And Mayor Breed put Prop F on the ballot. Everybody was, almost half of the city was against it, but the majority of the people were for it. It's not to be punitive to anyone. What we're trying to do now is to be able to assist people and give them recovery. In most cities in this country, we're all suffering from drug use and substance use and fentanyl. But San Francisco is getting ready to be a leader and start teaching recovery to people. And we want to be able to be the ones to be able to take that lead and go across this country, even across this world, to be able to make the necessary changes we need. So somebody pulling me now, because I'll be pulling people, but I'll be up here all day. But anyway, I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I appreciate my recovery brothers and sisters. Don't think that you are ever forgotten, because one thing you can do is always come to us. And as Matt always says, he's at the table now. Now, what we have to do is eat when we're at the table. I don't always want to be at the table. I want to eat and be able to bring you some food. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Cedric. So next up is somebody who was the beneficiary of a contingency management program, much like Cash Not Drugs, that we're announcing today. And thank God that he was the beneficiary of that program, because today he leads an organization in the Castro, a sober community space called the Castro Country Club, that has been a foundational element of my own journey in recovery. In many ways, this is an institution that has helped to save my life. Please welcome Billy Lemon Walters.
All right. Good day, everybody. So, my name is Billy Lemon. I have been sober since 2013. Thank you. And I've been running the country club since 2015. But what I want to do today is I want to walk you through what contingency management means, because the words it can be a little confusing. So when I decided to change my relationship with substances in 2013, because of the vast network of opportunity and resources in San Francisco, I was able to check myself in and go to rehab. Once I was in rehab, now I went to rehab with 2 felonies. my job at the time was slinging dope and had been for a minute. So I wasn't real sure I was going to be able to stay sober or actually quit. It wasn't on my radar. What was on my radar was changing my life, and changing my life for the good. So while I was in a 90-day program, I was introduced to something called PROP. And PROP is a contingency management program run by the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. Its acronym is Positive Reinforcement Opportunity Project. And the way it works is this. One of the things around meth addicts and stimulants is that part of the reason that we use is that we activate a part of our brain that gets us going. We want to be up, 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 right? The benefit of getting a clean test or a negative test for methamphetamines for me at the time was an adrenaline rush, because I had been shooting dope for quite a long time. The other thing about that project was every week when I tested clean, I had somebody patting me on the back, telling me I had done something good. And for a dope fiend, you generally don't have folks telling you you are doing good shit. So there were two things happening. There was small increments of self-esteem boosting positive reinforcement that was telling me, hey dude, you're doing good stuff, keep going. And each week, as I was able to test clean, they put a little bit of money in a gift card bank, and I saw that money growing over time. And here's the thing, I was not doing anything illegal to get paid. And that had been the first time that I had not done something illegal to get paid in a minute. For somebody trying to change their life, you can't put a value on how amazing that felt every week. And so I did the program for 4 months. Over the 4 months, I was able to I forget exactly what the amount was each week, but at the end of my 4-month cycle, I had got more than 90 days sober. Something I did not think was on my radar, something that happened because I had support and this tested program that has been working forever, right? There are gonna be folks in your community that are gonna say, why are we giving money to drug addicts? Because giving money to drug addicts in small amounts like this will actually help them change their life and get off drugs. So at the end of this program, at the end of 4 months, I had a gift card of $400 and some odd, and it bought a cell phone for me because up until then, I didn't have a phone. And you know what you can do with a phone your first time out of rehab? You can get a job. You can call your doctor and become med compliant with your HIV medication. You can call your therapist. You can call your caseworker. And you can't do any of that if you don't have access to communication or technology. PROP and contingency management is a tested program that will help folks change their lives. I stand in 100% support of it. I want to thank Supervisor Dorsey for always having the seat at the table for the recovery community. I want to thank one of my besties, Raphael Mandelman, for always doing the best work possible. And I want to thank the mayor for always leaning in to support this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Billy. Now, in addition to the Castro Country Club, there's another longtime institution in San Francisco that has been serving members of the recovery community. And back in the 90s, this was one of the first places that I would go to a lot of recovery meetings. The only difference was at that time it was under a court order to be at recovery meetings. But I am really happy to please welcome the executive director of the Dry Dock in San Francisco in the Cow Hollow neighborhood. Please welcome Sandy B.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Sandy. I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date is 12/1/1981. I have watched over those years incarcerations that never should have happened, and I have been praying for a positive way to help our community. This is outstanding. Mayor Breed, Matt Dorsey, and the San Francisco management team will become a beacon to the rest of the country. This is the way to do it. Bring people in and help them want to be in. The privilege I've had at serving the Dry Dock has been unbelievable. We love you all. Thank you.
We love you, Sandy. And we had one mayor, but we're going to wrap up today with another mayor, the mayor of the Tenderloin. Please welcome Dale Seymour.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Actually, I'm running for vice president. Might as well. So, I don't know about you people out here or people behind me, but I'm tired. I'm real tired. And you know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of those plastic yellow sheets laying on the ground with the body under it in the Tenderloin. Last Monday, I walked upon 2 of them on Golden Gate. I'm tired of that. Now, you know, I've had some discussions this weekend about this program, and a lot of people says, oh, that's a scheme. Hell yeah, it's a scheme. But our drug dealers are using schemes to keep us drugged out. So why don't we bow down to do the same thing? You know, the understanding is that I'm not using the word like some other people have used as an incentive, because that's like incentivizing a drug addict. This is a reward for someone that's in sobriety. It's not an incentive, it's a reward. I mean, I went through my thing. I've been clean 14 years. When I stand here, I look out at this park over here. I used to be over here in my shopping cart. And within a year of getting clean, Supervisor Breed appointed me to the local homeless board. And I told her about my recovery and my struggles. She says, you can do it. And this is how recovery looks. I really thought I would not want to be, I don't want to be in the recovery. I don't want to be a nerd. I don't want to be sitting around going to meetings. But man, it's great. It's good. When Supervisor Dorsey accepted that nomination to be supervisor, that was the greatest reward San Francisco could have. Yeah. That we have someone in this building and active recovery handling our business. I can't thank you enough for staying. And we talked before you got nominated. Yeah. We had several talks. So just understand this is for people that's in recovery, and I'm ready for anything that works. I'm tired of seeing them yellow pieces of plastic in the Tenderloin. Thank you. You guys have a great day. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dal. It's done so much to inspire me and was influential in me making the decision to seek this job. Now, this is our second. We had another rally, and I don't know if everybody was here, but does everybody know how we close up these rallies? Because this is the audience participation part. So I'm going to put this mic up, and we're going to close this rally the same way we close out our meetings with the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Is everybody ready to go? Let's go. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back